Being able to handle a massive amount of transactions in the crypto world, as more and more people are onboarded, has seemed like a big problem that most projects have faced since the beginning of cryptocurrencies, old-timers like Bitcoin and Ethereum included. Unfortunately, this has introduced some hassles when using crypto as investors and traders deal with these really slow transaction speeds, insane gas fees, or both. Now, it's almost impossible for users to turn their backs on these cryptocurrencies and their blockchains as they offer certain unique advantages. Bitcoin, for example, is basically the gold standard for digital assets, given its main power to store value through scarcity. Ethereum, on the other hand, is a programmable blockchain that allows the creation of smart contracts and highly utilizable decentralized finance applications. However, developers have been seeking ways to combine the qualities of Bitcoin and Ethereum with a touch of maximum scalability, and it seems like maybe they've hit a much-needed breakthrough. Welcome to Whiteboard Crypto, the #1 YouTube channel for crypto education, and here we explain topics of the cryptocurrency world using analogies, stories, and examples in a way that anyone can understand. In this video, we're going to be explaining what Elrond is, how it works, including the tokenomics behind the coin eGLD. In late 2017, two brothers, Lucian and Benjamin Minchu, alongside a friend, Lucien Todia, created Elrond to solve the industry's scalability problem. Now, before co-founding Elrond, the Minchu brothers launched MetaChain Capital, a cryptocurrency investment fund, with Benjamin as the CEO and Lucien serving as the Chief Technology Officer. Now, I always like to give some history on a project's creator, but now it's time to dig into the project itself. So, what is Elrond? Elrond is a public blockchain that offers all the good things a decent blockchain needs, including two key components known as the adaptive state sharding and secure proof-of-stake consensus mechanism. We'll get into these two critical components later on in the video. Elrond's blockchain not only facilitates high-speed transactions, but is also a complete fintech, Internet of Things, and DeFi ecosystem. This basically means that developers can leverage this blockchain to build all kinds of dApps seamlessly. The developers believe that being able to process a ton of transactions and something called linear scaling should not eliminate other important features that a blockchain should have, usually that other blockchains give up for speed. To this effect, they designed Elrond to have the capacity of processing up to 10,000 transactions per second while keeping transaction finality and gas fees at a bare minimum. Now, if you're new around here, that means they want transactions to be confirmed as fast as possible, but while also keeping it cheap. Another thing that they are determined to do is remove the use of centralized exchanges and trading platforms to be the main way that most people switch from one blockchain to another. For a while, if you wanted to go from one blockchain to another blockchain, what you had to do is sell your crypto to a centralized exchange, like Coinbase, then use the money from that sale to trade to buy another crypto asset to which you could then move elsewhere. Elrond is attempting to remove this step, just like many other blockchains have, by using bridges and something called the Elrond virtual machine. So as mentioned earlier, Elrond's blockchain utilizes something called adaptive state sharding in its unique secure proof-of-stake algorithm to provide the scalability we're talking about. Now in a minute, I'm going to explain these, but you should know that the native coin of the Elrond network is called eGLD. So, moving into adaptive state sharding. When it comes to their scaling, Elrond has taken a different approach to sharding technology, which is pretty unique. Basically, as a result, they created a database optimization method that establishes itself as being one of the leading blockchain-driven solutions. As a recap, most blockchains that have sharding simply break up their network into a bunch of different pieces, each of which are basically mini versions of the whole network that basically check in with a master shard every now and then. And this is kind of what the plan is for the ever-coming Ethereum 2.0 upgrade. But in fact, the adaptive state sharding is very similar to the last video I posted about Harmony's effective proof of stake, in which Elrond's network is broken up into many different shards, and each shard gets a randomized set of validators to produce each block. Now, this next part's going to get a little technical, but basically the network's chronology is organized based on a timeline divided into rounds and epochs. Rounds are designed to exist within a specific time frame, and in every round, the network selects a new consensus group for a particular shard and then tasks it with making a new block for that shard, which is a shard is just basically a mini blockchain. Also, epochs can undergo modification alongside the network's architecture, which is a fancy way of saying they can be adapted. Epochs exist for a fixed time frame, and whenever they expire, they trigger the pruning and reorganization of all the shards. Elrond's sharding implementation is driven by their desire to achieve some specific objectives. Now, I know the last minute may have seemed like a jargon wasteland, but here are some of the specific things that Elrond wants to accomplish in plain English. First of all, they want to achieve scalability without tampering with availability. This basically means that whenever there's a fluctuation in the number of existing shards, whether we're growing or shrinking the network, it should not affect updates or downtime. Next is instant dispatching and traceability. Now, in plain English, that means we want the network to know where everything is on the network at once and be able to calculate future stuff on the network easily. And lastly, Elrond also desires to achieve complete adaptability in a way to keep shards balanced consistently. Now, earlier I mentioned the growing and shrinking of the network. Basically, they want the network to be able to adapt well what is needed by the users. In terms of Elrond doing all kinds of things, the next short thing I want to talk about is our private community called Whiteboard Crypto Club, which is also doing all kinds of things. First, all members get $20 of Ethereum whenever they join, plus they receive monthly NFTs and immediate access to our high engagement premium community. Besides all of that, I'm actually constantly adding in private videos regarding how to use blockchains to earn a yield, and also sharing where I'm personally parking my crypto. Even more so, I actually share my own portfolio every week and am about to launch 2 decentralized applications that only club members can get access to. On top of all this, I want to say yes, it is a paid program, but it allows us to keep creating videos like this and continue to serve alpha up on a silver plate in the community. Now, if you want to join, you can test it out risk-free with the link in the description below. And similar to Elrond, we are attempting to achieve scalability while also staying adaptable so that all members feel like they're learning and earning. Enough shilling our club, let's move on to the Elrond's consensus mechanism, or basically the system that they use to make sure that everyone agrees on the transactions on the blockchain. Elrond's secure proof-of-stake consensus mechanism comes as an improvement to the regular proof-of-stake consensus mechanism. The secure proof-of-stake algorithm reduces latency, meaning it's quicker, and at the beginning of every round, the members in a consensus group are determined by each node in the shard. Again, a bunch more jargon, but this means that it reduces the time of a consensus group election, basically the time it takes to pick the nodes for a shard, to less than 100 milliseconds. The network also has incorporated a weighted model of rating to support meritocracy amongst nodes while also considering the amount that you have staked. In other words, the more coins you have, and the more truthful that you've been in the past, the more your vote counts. Next, let's talk about something buzzworthy called the metachain. Now, the metachain is a protocol that is driven by a special shard. It focuses less on transaction processing and more on accelerating communications between all the shards, basically triggering new epochs, rewarding stakers, storing and maintaining the validator's registry, or approving the block headers of processed shards. Again, in plain English, that means it is basically the master shard and is very similar to Ethereum's beacon chain. Finally, the last component of Elrond's architecture are the eGLD tokens. They primarily drive the blockchain by serving as a way to pay for transactions, storage, validator rewards, dApp development and deployment, and smart contract execution. Like I said earlier, Elrond's native token is called eGLD, and unlike many other projects or coins that I've covered on the channel, it was created to actually rival Bitcoin as a store of value. The tokenomics of eGLD is a tad confusing, but as always, we're here to demystify the complexities. Starting with the simplest things, eGLD has a limited supply that starts at 20 million tokens, with new tokens minted to reward validators. However, the total maximum supply can never go beyond around 31.5 million eGLD tokens, and this number will technically decrease as the number of processed transactions increase, since a portion of the fees of every transaction are burned. They're gone forever. For every transaction, a percentage of the fees go to the validators, some go to the Elrond Community Fund, and like I said earlier, some are burned. Also, a cool feature that Elrond has that I actually kind of thought was neat is that if you create a smart contract, and a lot of people use that smart contract, 30% of the transaction fees associated with that smart contract go straight to you, the developer. You earn part of the transaction fees. In terms of tokenomics, eGLD was first released for purchase in a private sale, in which the developers sold 19% of the initial supply, which is quite different than how Bitcoin was launched. During Elrond's pre-sale, 7.5% of the purchased tokens were made available immediately, while the rest were distributed in 15.4% increments every quarter for 6 quarters. Now, this next part is going to be quite summarized as it's kind of lengthy and number oriented. If you want the full information and to view a collection of private research that I put together on Elrond, including some more time sensitive stuff, you can go to Google and search Elrond price prediction and then find our whiteboardcrypto.com website. I don't need to say much more because the page speaks for itself. I guarantee you'll find it useful, but you should remember it's not financial advice. It's simply a bunch of research that I've personally put together in my own search for profitable crypto decisions, and hopefully that research is useful to you as well. In 2019, Binance held an initial exchange offering for Elrond and sold 25% of the supply almost immediately. The rest of the coins are split between paying rewards, allocating grants and marketing, the community fund, the founding team, and the advisors. One last thing I want to mention about Elrond's tokenomics is that I've relatively checked the whale wallet list, which is a list of the people who hold the most eGLD. And most of the eGLD whales seem to be big exchanges like Binance or Crypto.com, which is usually healthy because you do not want one person holding a large amount of the eGLD token. Also, eGLD is relatively non-inflationary since it does have a limited supply, and therefore usually price and demand positively correlate. And therefore, if demand goes up, so will price. Lastly, as always, if you haven't heard of our free DeFi for Beginners guide, you can go to whiteboardcrypto.com and grab it for free, where you'll also find our newsletter, our free Discord group, and a few other custom tools that we've created. As we end this video, I want to personally thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I really hope that you've learned something, and most of all, we hope to see you in our next video.